Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new format that I want to try for our Arkham podcast that we've only done 5 episodes of and then stopped.
Other things to talk about.
Yeah, and everyone is like, we want to see you do more podcasts. So that's what we're doing here today. This is the Arkham Roundtable, where my idea was that we each kind of just bring a very brief, simple talking point. And we just kind of like discuss it, and then when the topic's done, we just move on to the next one. No time limit. I don't expect it to take too crazy long, but we'll see how it goes. And I have the first one. I'll just start with it. Mine is pretty simple. This came to me when I saw a bunch of people on
slide.
I'll make one for your guys' too, don't worry, yeah. You just have a piece of paper that you hold up.
I should have brought just like a piece of paper for like a presentation about why I'm right.
So this is something that I saw on the Arkham subreddit, and it was on the daily topic for Jeremiah Kirby. Mm-hmm. And I never thought that this poor man deserved to be on the taboo list. So that's kind of like what I want to talk about. Did Jeremiah Kirby deserve to be put on the taboo list, which we assume happened because of hit and run, right? The new sleight of man card that exists, where you get to put an ally into play and then it goes back into your hand.
No. I mean, one of them probably, in my opinion, one of them probably should have gone. Mm-hmm. I do think the hit and running Jeremiah Kirby is like extremely strong. Mm-hmm. But as a general rule, like hitting the payoffs instead of enablers just kicks the can down the road. Mm-hmm. So if you have cards that are an issue with hit and run now, then you either never print cards that are an issue with it later, mm-hmm. or you print them and then they end up getting nerfed or something like that because of hit and run, and it's better to just like deal with hit and run now, or just not print it.
Yeah, because I mean, like, hit and run probably, like, because like I know you've said this previously in the past, because like we've seen this happen with sleight of hand, right? It had the same kind of issues that this could have, and it feels like hit and run probably would have just been better if it just said non-unique ally, because then they had like an entire window that they could explore to have like a safety valve for hit and run, right?
Or an ally that costs like 2 or less or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get there. We'll get like the whole sleight of hand. Yeah, it'll do
eventually.
It all. Yeah.
Eventually, they'll be like, it has to be level 3 or higher, so you can't hit Jeremiah.
Only rogue allies, because we're not printing any good rogue allies.
Yeah.
Don't kid yourself.
It's not what we do here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, Bryn, you always say that you're happy that a secret card got banned for rogue shenanigans, but how about like
such a spite?
Well, okay, so the way that I see it is that either we never get cool rogue cards again.
Yeah.
Or sometimes other colors get to bite the bullet and lose some of their cool cards.
We can have cool rogue cards, they just need to not cheat on resources.
It doesn't cheat on resources.
It does.
No, it's entirely fair. You pay 1 and you get them for a turn. How much is Dr. Milan worth for 1 turn? It's not 1.
No, but it's when they have comes to play abilities.
Which is good, because Dr. Milan is probably 0, because, like, really, are you cheating him into place you can not investigate?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. Also then, like, with this as well, like, I know Jeremiah Kirby's ability is very strong, right? But I always felt that it was balanced by the fact that in order to draw 5 consistently, you need to build your deck around it. Like, I understand that with hit and run, it cascades crazily to like crazy power levels, right? Mm-hmm. But on its own, everyone online was saying that like Jeremiah Kirby was like busted even at level 0. And I never saw it that way, because I think that like having your deck be odds and evens to draw 5 is...
So you never played Hearthstone?
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, like, in this game, like, it's less of, like, it's a one-time effect, right? Where it's just like...
Yeah, it's a one-time effect now, but the issue is, like, as more cards get printed, there's such a wide variety in cards, and sure, you might have, like, a version of a card that does X thing, and it costs 2 resources, and later they print a version of a card that costs 3 and does X thing. Mm-hmm. Sure, it's worse because it costs one more, but like it's better if you get to draw it for free. Mm-hmm. And the point is, eventually you hit like a tipping point where it's the reason why every class can kind of do everything now, right? The card pool is so big that you can just build around restrictions without them being actual restrictions.
So then with that in mind, is it not then even say that it could be argued that the taboo list for Jeremiah Kirby is even with that in mind and not just exclusively just hit and run? Right?
I mean, I think that paying 4 resources to like draw those cards is like not unfair. Mm-hmm. it's extremely good, but is it like unfair or broken? Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, it'd be interesting to see, like, him, like, stay at level 0, but change it to, like, reveal the top 3, right? To just, like, bring that down as well. But I don't know, just because I liked having an alternative for Dr. Milan
I
at
also
0,
did.
you know?
Yep.
But...
No, I don't care about yellow cards.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that is totally fair, too. It's just one of those things that... I mean, like, I'll still happily play Dr. Milan.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a yellow ally that sucks. Not yet.
I mean, and to be fair, like, there are, like, cards that you will never be able to draw off Jeremiah Kirby, like skills.
Yes, yeah.
So, like, he does limit your deck construction a little bit in that way.
Yeah.
You are, if you want to consistently draw 5 cards off him, you're kind of cutting yourself off playing some of the other powerful yellow cards like Deduction.
Yeah.
Effectively, Practice makes perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the 2 big ones I can come up with off the top of my head. But
And then maybe this is also just like me when I'm even like the whole, if I have to sacrifice and make my decks all evens and odds, and to draw 5, I'm like, cool, I put 5 cards in my hand, but maybe it's just like also like against how I play, where it's just like, I'm just very, like, I just go. I'm like a fucking leech on the bottom of the Arkham pool, just taking basic actions, you know? Maybe it is just on me for, like, being able to see, like, the big picture of what he can do, but...
I'm not really for or against this, but there's like also a point to be made that the restriction of playing even and odd cards in your deck makes deck building more interesting.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
play cards you don't normally play potentially. So
I mean, I guess that is true because we also, like, make challenges for ourselves to make deck building more interesting as well. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about. Events Only was a serious run.
Yeah. And Assets Only was even more serious. Yeah.
You can tell because we won that one.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't die on scenario 7 and not get to finish the campaign.
no, you finished the campaign.
We found the result that we were destined to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but also, like, this is also a roundtable to involve our viewers at home too, for input on Jeremiah Kirby. I mean, I hope to God that Hit and Run does follow the exact same path as Sleight of Hand for the taboo list.
I really don't.
Just because it'd be so funny to watch it happen twice, like history repeating itself, but without like the 100-year cycle with it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, that is one thing that bothers me a lot with the design team is watching them just like make the same design mistakes that like. Not just like in this case they literally have previously made, but also like the other games have shown are dangerous design decisions to make, and they've had to struggle to deal with them, and then they just do it, and they're like, "Oh wow, what do you mean there's a problem?"
Yeah.
No, don't worry about it.
I mean, playing
Travis.
cards that are discard forever is really good. What do you mean that cheating on like resources is really good? Like, what do you mean being able to do a bunch of things for free is really good? It's like
One of the investigators that I've definitely seen from the new cycle, I can't tell you where, lets you put cards from the top of your deck into your discard pile to take a card from your discard pile and put it into your hand.
is that a lightning bolt?
No, it's like when you would draw a card.
Dude, parallel Will York. 100%. Could you imagine? He's just
That'd be
dredging.
That'd be something.
Yeah, dredge is a cost.
Yeah.
You have pretty much cards to play it, right? Like when
Yeah.
this card is
Yeah.
put into your discard from your deck, you can gain 3 resources or
You can
something.
only play this card from your discard pile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if like 3 or more cards have been put into your discard pile this turn, this card costs 0 and is fast.
Wow.
We're on the precipice.
It's some free design space for you guys.
Honestly, yeah.
I do
Shut up
think
the
that
game.
like Hit and Run is still currently only really good with yellow cards anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a real argument that like it could be just a yellow card.
Oh, no image. Go back to Jeremiah Kirby.
Yeah. Like green allies don't really do the thing that it wants to do.
Yeah. Because, like,
They just don't. Like we've got the Priest to Two-Face that you could use to like put 3 bless tokens into the bag, but also that requires you to be playing a different color because
yeah.
green doesn't care about that.
And then
Not
there's
too much.
Yeah,
I
'cause
guess you get to succeed by X, but
there's really none, is there?
there's not much. There's like that guy. There's the guy who like he lets you attach an asset
Oh, Trigger Man.
to him.
This guy? The Leo Anderson?
Yeah.
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 Old Leo? He also, his art does not exist
He is
either.
old.
When he enters,
Yeah.
so you could like pay 1 to put an asset from your hand, but it has to be illicit. So it's also not very great. And like when he leaves, you discard it.
Yeah, it's like not
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah, there's
Okay, I
really,
guess.
and maybe it's a future plan, but
Yeah.
maybe they're just like, nah.
Like, I
this
mean, I
is for
suppose
seekers.
you could do something cool in Trish where you like hit and run into play that guy, and then no, that's no.
Nah, never mind.
Yeah, actually, no, it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, there's really nobody.
Yeah,
That's
like
nuts.
green doesn't do that. Yellow, on the other hand, yellow does that all the time.
I mean, they could just dash Ecoin place if your investigator's green, and then only Monterey Jack can abuse it, and that's probably fine because he's like bad.
He's great. He's got 5 foot. That's how you know he's good.
I mean, like that's actually one of those things where I would love to see them explore is like taboo by like traits, like put only criminal on double or nothing. I think that could be fun just to try it out. But who maybe George Barnaby will be an ally focused seeker rogue, and we'll get some like rogues that can work with it.
His end game is
Greener
like
for
once you
cards
put
for you.
X amount of XP, probably like 10 or
Go die on
12
a
or
boat.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go play a scenario from the edge of the earth and kill yourself.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's what he does. I'm pretty sure if Eldritch Horror has taught me anything.
And it has. It's taught us a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other point that I dislike about this taboo in particular is like I don't like the chaining and adding additional experience because it doesn't really like if you're gonna abuse Jeremiah Kirby, it doesn't stop you from doing it, it just pushes it back. And like from at least my point of view, I tend to have like it takes X amount of XP, 20-ish XP for my deck to be like finish, and then anything past that I'm like putting fun cards in.
Yeah.
And it just like makes me play less fun cards.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, I think this is much more of a solving a problem with standalone. Because like you don't want to have that kind of power level with 0 points in. Then
Yeah.
Who plays who
I bet you
balances
it's
that?
like most people actually, because like sitting down to play a campaign is like quite a commitment.
You're telling me that they
Unless you're playing with like your partner,
Yeah.
You're
because
telling
then
me
you're like, we're both going to be in this house.
they made this choice to balance for standalone, but they still printed the
Burn after reading?
stupid Burn After Reading and the stupid loan card, and they're like, these are fine.
They are fine.
Just because they're
Standalones are hard, man.
why can't you do this then?
Because yellow doesn't
Because
deserve it.
yellow's already too strong.
Yeah.
You're too strong.
Yeah, I mean, I also on the note of taboo, I do think it's like one of those things that you like would always happen in Hearthstone. I mean, Hearthstone has a very small space in which they can like buff and like nerf their cards.
Right, which is very similar to this game where they take the cards that Bryn likes to play
Yeah.
and they push them into the format you can't play them in as punishment for the existence of other cards.
Yeah. So, but it would be interesting to them
So cool.
to like explore the text, and like I think like just changing the, it's better than chaining. Chaining is just like a simple way to kick the can down the deck building road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I think this is much more fair when you get to do it like after first XP buy than
Yeah,
when you get
it
to
does
do
make
it
sense,
in,
yeah.
like, first scenario, you know?
Yeah, but it doesn't
Like it
fix
doesn't
the problem.
No, but it's also maybe not a problem once you've paid 4 XP for it.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm
Like,
also
Cyclopean Hammer is decidedally not a problem.
It is still.
Nope.
We just don't.
That's what
play
they
it.
say because it hasn't been changed. If it was a problem, it would be changed.
I mean, I'm also
I have absolute faith in this.
I'm also more on like the whole thing where now it's just like I do agree that like if you're gonna put like 10 experience into your deck for 2 copies of a card, it's got to be good.
No, it absolutely does.
But for me, it's just like I don't know. I just saw Jeremiah Kirby and I was like, I was just playing him fair. Where I was like, I sometimes draw 2, I sometimes draw 3, and then I clap.
Yeah.
You know, but.
Honestly, like in terms of Cyclopean Hammer, it's partially because we think it's boring. I think that we don't play it, but it's also it might be getting too much credit on this. But remember how in League of Legends there's like an infamous time when I think it was there's Vladimir and he got a nerf in the patch notes and his win rate dropped like 2%, and then they were like, haha, we forgot to push it to live.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, no,
they
that
like
was good.
give
Yeah.
characters like inconsequential
Yeah.
buffs
No, I
and
do.
nerfs just
Yeah.
to like, hey, you should play this guy, and people will because they're like, oh,
Yeah.
he's good now, and they're like,
Yeah.
Oh man.
not really, it didn't change anything, but
An extra 15% AP scaling, like sick. Like, oh, that guy doesn't build AP items because they all suck on him. So
yeah.
No, that does make sense. But I think like this guy, he might be like a little good at level 0.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe
Like,
like level 1 would feel less.
like Mr. Rook.
You know.
I mean, I think he's comparable to Dr. Milan, and everyone seems fine with Dr. Milan level 0, so I don't see why he shouldn't be.
That's because Dr. Milan's a bug guy.
Yeah. They
This
like.
guy's a glowy green stone. I
Yeah,
mean, he's a dog guy. You should like him
no,
more.
No one likes dogs. Dog stock is going down. Bug stock going up.
Dead bugs, man.
Up. Buy bugs.
The dogs just
Sell
happen to be
dogs.
there.
Buy
It's just,
bugs.
it's just because like Ilya's actually standing behind him in the artwork.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is cool and all, but he's not Ilya.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
I guess.
All right, Travis, what do you got?
you know.
What's for yours? Give me one of your three.
You guys want to talk about game design weaknesses or scenarios?
Oh. Let's do weaknesses. I'm down for that.
I think weaknesses are as a whole too easy.
Oh, our weaknesses.
Like almost across the board.
Nice. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. I get killed by mine all the time.
I think that too many of them do functionally nothing.
Okay.
I think there are too many of them that maybe do functionally nothing for certain kinds of characters.
Yeah, so I mean, like the odds that your weakness is going to do nothing is too high.
I just take hypochondria every time.
Oh yeah.
Yes, let me pull out the signatures and the basics are on here. Give me one I can throw on screen, Travis. Oh, sorry, I went to force learning by accident.
Yeah, no, that's a weakness.
Honestly, it's not great.
So I came up with this one after I saw your weakness thing, and I was like, I wholeheartedly disagree with a lot of your choices there. So amnesia sucks. Amnesia is like actually a bad weakness, and like probably about the power level that most of them should be, I think.
No, that one's really easy. You just play the game Hellbent.
Yeah, paranoia is one of those ones. It functionally does nothing for most investigators.
Yeah, unless it kills you.
It's
So,
not.
like,
It
I
can't
agree,
kill
it's
you.
It's not good. Yeah,
It can't kill you.
It can.
Like, there's a lot of weaknesses that like
have you
that
never-
very harshly punish a certain deck type or investigator, but for the majority of investigators are like it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, no,
Right?
like you draw this one playing green big money, and you're just like, yeah, I would like to resign. Like,
Yeah, and I mean,
out of the game.
it is what
I
that's
don't wanna play
exactly
it.
what you're saying, right? Like, and then you get it in like a red deck dark
Yeah.
horse, and you're like, I don't care.
Yeah, either you spend your resources on things, or you have like a million resources and you don't care about losing them because you weren't using them, right? Like haunted
that's fair.
does nothing.
I think haunted is like a reasonably fair one, but
It does affect each investigator similar,
in,
but
like lower player counts.
yeah,
Like if you're on higher player counts, I think this card should always be like the 13th vision.
Yeah, and I suppose that's kind of like I guess that's one of the things. Like, do we want like is it better if like basic weaknesses were more flat and like universally like kind of like affected everyone equally, and then like signature weaknesses hit harder, right? Because some signature weaknesses are like getting like hit with a nerf bat.
like
you know?
some of them
Looking
don't
at
do
you,
anything to
hoods.
us.
Yeah, like, and then there's the hoods, which are like they just basically
They kill you.
yeah, like they just like turn Rita into like they're like, hey, you're not you anymore because you
Yeah.
can't be you.
I probably
Yeah.
should have included the backstab in my deck because it just kills these guys.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
And that's why I like sweeping kick
where
2
we
in
are.
Rita, because it like you have to take one,
Yeah.
but it does solve them in one action, right? Because then like I mean like yeah, like the and then there's also like the new weaknesses, which are just like the edge of the earth ones, which you then are like, okay, but I had to roll this after, right?
Yeah.
And then I get the deck building stipulation after all that.
I like the most of the campaign only ones. The one like I don't like the one that kills you
Oh, Doom.
with like no recourse. It's just like don't draw cards because it'll suck.
I think that this card should be the level that more weaknesses are on.
Basic weaknesses.
Yes, basic weaknesses are on. Sorry.
Wild.
Yeah, I think like people sit there and they complain that they come up with like dumbass house rules to be like, oh, it's too easy to cycle through your deck, and they're like, oh, you have to like remove cards from the game, or you have to take extra horror or something like, and they're like, oh, I don't play with Doom though. The cards is not fun to play with. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
I don't-
this
I don't
was
play
there
with
for.
this one.
Yeah.
I do. I'm not a
Because
bitch.
like if I showed up to play an investigator, I want to play that investigator through the campaign. That's what I want to do. Unless the campaign kills me, not if my own deck kills me.
Like, yeah, you might get unlucky, but there's definitely ways to play around it, and I think that your weaknesses should force you to play around them.
Yeah, but like the play around for this in like what 80% of decks is like don't draw cards.
I mean, no, that's not entirely true. You do have. I mean, yes, you should draw less cards, but you have options to, like, to look through or to sift through your
Yeah,
deck to try and avoid
In
it.
yellow.
Yeah, and then you can ask your teammates to help you.
Yeah.
I've had 2 experiences with Doomed. One was in a 9 scenario campaign where in the last scenario it would have killed me, and we built around it to get rid of it. My other experience with Doomed was a 4 scenario thing, and I'm going into the last scenario with it in my deck to kill me, which is just kind of crazy after 4 scenarios.
Yeah.
Just like unlucky to get that, because like you said, there's a lot to it. like I love the idea of what you said, where like, because I do wish cycling your deck hurt more, right? Because I think it should. Because I think that's where a lot of power that Seeker has that's over every other class, right?
Overzealous also fits in that. I've
I
heard
love
that
I
quite a
love-
few people don't play with Overzealous.
I love
They think it's not
Overzealous.
fun. It's just like,
Oh, Overzealous is the one I mulligan to when I hit a weakness that I'm like, this stops me from playing the game.
yeah.
I like Overzealous a lot because also like I think
It's fair.
it's very manageable now too, but it can like throw your tempo back a lot more than a double action can, right?
Yeah, I think that almost all these double action ones are functionally nothing, especially at higher player counts. The enemies are also in many cases nothing. Summer Detective is actually like kind of well designed.
Yeah,
I think he's on the
he stops
softer
you
side
from
of
doing
things,
the thing.
but like he's a basic weakness I would okay or design.
However,
Gets my approval.
the only thing about this one is I think this actually like kind of also fits into your paranoia point, where with some investigators they don't care if they're blank, and then Charlie Kane suddenly has discarded 3 allies because he drew his basic weakness, right? Like I
Yeah,
think
but that's fair because he's breaking the law and he's a politician.
it's true. It is true. Yeah. So I think well,
He's going to jail.
I like what the
That's a
big
fair
impact
point.
that he can has, but I think it kind of fits into that same kind of space.
I didn't
of
think
that.
that. Yeah, no, that's a fair argument. And Dead shouldn't be in the game at all.
And that is just like easy mode. You get that as
Yeah.
your weakness, and you're like, that's
It's-
okay.
Yeah, like it shouldn't be a weakness. It's too easy.
I think it's not a bad design. I just think 2 is not quite enough to
Oh yeah, it should make you start like 0 resources.
like hurt you. Like you're playing green and you start with this and you're like Faustian's an emergency cache the first time I play it.
Yeah.
No, it's a weakness that basically does nothing.
Yeah, I think if it was start with like 3 or 4 less, then we're starting to look at like, oh okay.
Yeah. Or
Like,
maybe
you hit this, your game is so much slower.
like maybe even start with 3 and you can't gain resources on your first
Yeah.
turn, right? Like that could be something that makes it actually like scary.
Yeah. Like
I
Eternal
do
Injury.
think the enemies should mostly have like 1 more health. Hoods should probably have 1 less.
I mean, yeah, that'd be fair.
Yeah.
I
I
think
was
I like
talking mostly about basic weaknesses.
Yeah,
plus
yeah, no,
basic
hoods
ones.
are a basic weakness though.
Dark Pact is good.
I like Dark Pact, yeah.
Overzealous is good.
here 1 second. Let me just add basic to this then, just to we can focus it even further.
I think the thing that follows is actually pretty well designed as well.
That's the one that gets shuffled back in, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Anything that I think gets shuffled back in, if your thesis is basically weaknesses need to hit harder to curb deck cycling, I think that essentially kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, like it actually fills that role
Yeah.
on its own. Like Through the Gates, most is again it's like super high rolly, but in most cases does nothing.
It's my favorite though because it's just so funny when it burns someone's big card and I clap. I'm like, that's so funny. Yeah. But I do agree. It's one that I'm happy to see, and you shouldn't be happy to see a basic weakness,
No,
right?
that one is also one that I usually don't play with. Not because like it's a huge problem or anything, but often because I'm building around a specific card and I'm like, man, if I lose that, I just sit here on my hands and I'm like, cool, you guys play the game and I'll gain resources or whatever.
Yeah, like Self-Centered, again, double action actually does nothing though. You're like, you draw it and you're like, oh no, your guys' decks have to be able to function on their own. Oh no, right?
Yeah,
Kleptomania does
these
basically
ones.
nothing.
But I like Kleptomania because it also has the reshuffle, right? So it's gonna kill multiple draws,
Whisper.
which I think balances out the softer effect and easier
Yeah,
to deal with.
Kleptomania does also have the downside of like sometimes it's good for you.
Yes,
Where
that
it's
is
just
true.
sort of like
Yeah.
you got a teammate who's like, I don't actually use this money for anything, and
Yeah,
you're like, I could
that's a
though.
good point. Yeah.
Like I could use that. Or sometimes you're like, that item asset you got over there, be pretty nuts if it was in my play area.
Yep. Yeah. Narcolepsy is like almost good. I wish you took more actions to wake them up.
I think
But-
I think narcolepsy has a weird thing where
It should be like 3 actions. I think most of the double action ones should be
I've
3
been
actions
killed
to
by
discard
that
them
one.
up, actually, but
So
yeah, I think narcolepsy has a weird thing where I think it's like one of the weaknesses that scales with player count. The other ones don't, because in 4 players it does nothing. Someone will have an
in
action.
2 players you're like, cool.
Yeah, and I think that's probably not great, but
I think your worst nightmare again is too swingy. Either your guardian, your monster fighter gets it, and you're like, or anyone else gets it, and you're like, this does nothing.
yeah, I think this one does sit in a space that like the other enemy weaknesses don't, where like it has 3 health, so it's actually kind of threatening, as opposed
it's
to
2
like
punch, though.
playing against the stubborn detective, where you're like, yeah, that would be cool on all, but like, what if I stabbed you to death?
yeah, I mean anything that like potentially has to eat. I mean, like 2 actions is different than 2. Like 1 double action is different than 2 actions you actually have to test for. And I suppose anything that could potentially require to eat a spectral razor, or like like 2 bullets, is probably better than like something with 2 health. So I do agree with what Bryn's saying.
Like
there.
you can tell that they were like, this card might be a problem if you're only a monster fire. I guess it's only got 2 punch and 2 foot, but like it's still just kind of like exaggerates the problem. I don't know what this empty slot is.
That's the
other one of
bloodlust.
these.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that these are also garbage design. Personally, the experience reduction isn't like horribly unfun, but I dislike their just again how high rolly they are. Which is, it ties in with my other points we're gonna talk about a different week, but yeah, like these are either they do the thing that you do and they do nothing, or they don't and like you're just kind of like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Right. I guess I just get to play the game with less experience. Which I know that like we are a little bit on the deck should have less experience side of things, but for a lot of people that is the fun of the game.
Yeah. It's I think that this card wasn't focused to like specific things, but rather was just like it required you to do something and then you got rid of it, and then like it like basically eats a card slot in your hand, or you have to do it multiple times if your deck reshuffles would make. And if it was just like a flat thing as opposed to the goon gets the goon one and the goon claps, the goon gets the clue one and the goon one,
I have to kill an enemy goon.
yeah.
I have to hit him with my machine instead of basic punching him. Oh no.
I don't like the Unspeakable Oath Bloodlust one, or Bloodthirst, because if you hit it and you're not on like on plan to do that, it's kind of just like, well, how the hell am I ever going to cobble together an extra point of damage?
Exactly.
Like that's impossible.
Yeah.
I do like Cowardice.
Is that the
Because
foot
it
one?
forces you
Or
not,
the
like
engage
unless you're playing
Evade.
that's the evade one.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing like a stupid 5-foot investigator or like Finn or somebody like that, this is very hard. Like the enemy has to get evaded and then you need to spend an action evading it again, and you don't get like a whole huge window to do it.
Yeah, the clue one's definitely the easiest one, right?
Yeah.
Like the investigating one.
No, it's not getting clues, it's investigating.
Yeah,
which
the
is like,
curiosity, but like there's no clues on location. That happens like all the time.
Yeah, sometimes the locations that just start with no clues have like 1 shroud. It's not,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I do really quite like this one. I think the reward for having done it, that like 2 extra XP at the end of the game, is worth the downside of like maybe I get 2 less, because maybe I can't make this happen. And I think that the gimme to the investigators with 5 foot, that's okay. They got it coming. They're like kind of
They have 5 foot.
yeah. They have 5. They
how
have
many-
they have
how
like a
many-
huge part of their power budget into this.
How many things do they need to get before they're good, you know?
Yeah.
So many.
13th Vision is like reasonable, I think. Again, I think it should probably be 3 actions to discard, but like it's fine.
This one's just like straight up better than Haunted. It does the same thing,
It's just like Haunted, but yeah.
but for
better, so.
everybody at your space.
Yeah.
So you can't hit it on someone like Carson and be like, cool, I'm just not going to use my number,
Yeah.
because you being there still causes the problem to exist.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool design space for basic weaknesses that were more like for everybody, right? Because then you're like multiple basic weaknesses show up and are a threat to you throughout the game,
Yeah.
right?
And how scary would hypochondria be if it was whenever somebody at your location took
Oh,
damage?
I mean,
you took
honestly-
horror? You'd just be like, oh my god, I'm going to
That's
die.
a weakness.
It would be it would be so real too, because like
Look over the Agnes player, they're like,
man, it'd be so funny if there was hypochondria and the damage one in play, and it just created a loop. But I mean, like that makes so much sense for a hypochondria flavor, because a hypochondriac will start freaking out when someone else is also experiencing it, right?
they like start coughing up blood. And they're like, oh,
Yeah,
I
they're
can
like,
cough
that's
up
me.
blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have to be like a little bit easier to solve, or like maybe not during the mythos, because it would be too easy to just hit it on the end of your turn and then explode.
No, what are the odds? It would encourage you to like get rid of them fast. What are the odds that 2
Yeah.
people on your team have exactly those weaknesses and draw them both?
Well,
I think that would be like more of a funny story than like this is bullshit.
yeah. I mean, they also just could have like a limit on it, like if there's a loop for those, right? Like
Yeah,
if it's like from a
maybe it's
treachery
like
card
if
or
they-
enemy attack, right?
Yeah,
As
or
opposed
like
to like
non-direct.
yeah. But I mean, like I do like it that it's like a kind of everyone's affected by it is a good way of making weaknesses more
Well, it's
intimidating.
like I don't know. I think the only issue with that one is that if you're at high player count, you might you might draw it at the end of your turn and just be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
guess I'm
Yeah.
dead.
But I mean, that also, a high player count is, there is more people to
that's-
solve problems,
yeah.
so it is a bit easier there too. But at the end of that, it goes to the narcolepsy thing where, like, maybe
Yeah.
that's also not
Yeah,
great,
no,
right?
it's a
Oh, hey.
separate issue.
We have 4 pages left, or 3 pages left. Tower either is crippling or does nothing. So, what is this one?
No idea.
Okay, cool. Offer You Can't Refuse is like kind of neat.
Yeah.
I like this one, except that you have to see your basic weakness after you build your deck, but you get to spend the experience. That's bullshit.
Yeah, they really, I
That's
think the
really
biggest
just
thing there
like-
needs to be a basic weakness redo for the rules. They just need to, like, you know, like with this, if this now works where you get to spend your experience, because that just, it makes sense to me, but it's weird and it shouldn't work that way with how the rules are written.
I wouldn't mind the basic weaknesses being. No, they go here. Oh no, they do go here.
Actually, no, I don't have them in order.
Okay.
They're just random.
I wouldn't mind the basic weaknesses, like you seeing them before you build your deck if they were harsher,
Yes.
like significantly harsher. But as they are, I think that it's too easy to just ignore most of them. Like you're building your deck, you're like, oh, I got the damage, like self-destructive. Hey, you want to be the monster fighter instead? So my base weakness does nothing.
Yeah.
Like-
Maybe if it was, like, locked in after investigator choice, and, like, I don't know, but that is a good point,
you
right?
need a rule structure for deck building now, like
I mean, yeah.
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 You just can't use this until first buy.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's the easy choice, but that's
Yeah.
the one that they've chosen not to do, so,
Yeah.
good. Self-destruct. Obsessive is, like, okay.
I do enjoy this one a whole lot more than Doomed because, like, well, yes, it does kill you. You can do something about it.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, I
this
mean,
one requires, like, active participation, whereas the other one requires, like, it's something that happens to you, whereas this one is, like, something you need to work towards.
Yeah, I mean, I think
To avoid,
Doomed would be
but-
nicer if there was, like, if you could, like, instead of signing the deal, you're like, you could just, like, have something bad happen to you
Just-
that's worse,
like
too.
even if it's like you could discard an ally asset that costs at least X,
Yeah, yeah.
like
Just some counterplay to it.
or discard like a unique ally.
Not that you should be able to
Or
gain
this.
weaknesses, but I think if your weakness is going to kill you, it probably should have some
Yeah,
counterplay.
like there should be
right?
a way to not die.
Discard all your cards and play or something.
Yeah, that'd
like
be sick. Yeah.
it probably needs to hurt you real bad,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like probably like the first stage doesn't need to hurt you quite that bad.
Yeah. Because this one does
But
tell
like as it scales up, the
yeah.
end should be like, yeah, you fucking lose everything.
Yeah. yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not dead.
You like Obsessive? You think that one's fun?
I think it's okay. Mostly because, like, it's just bad regardless of who draws it, compared to the other ones from this.
Self-destructive.
Self-destructive is, like, one of the worst design weaknesses. Nihilism is also garbage. Where are the other two? Are they in here? They gotta be in here.
No, I think one's in the Stella. Oh, no, because Tichophobia is in the Stella deck.
Okay, that one's also garbage.
Yeah. Oh, that one's if you fail.
Yeah, because, like, just don't fail tests, moron.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to fail tests.
And then I don't remember what the last one is.
The last one is Arrogance.
Oh, yeah, that's in the Min deck. The one where you lose 2 resources in your
Right.
turn unless you pass a test,
Yeah.
but committed only that one.
That one's also, like,
Yeah.
It's fine.
I mean, it's like Haunted,
It's-
but worse.
it's a little bit too weak, but, like, it's fine,
yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, if you compare that card to Haunted.
Oh, not that one. Not Arrogance.
Reckless.
Reckless,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure. They're like
They're the same card,
though.
basically, yeah.
There it is, right
Why
here.
the hell isn't this one Winifred's signature? It's got her on it.
Yeah. Just switch. I mean, there's a plane on each.
Yeah.
yeah.
Curse Follower, Dread Curse, do nothing. Day of Reckoning also does nothing. Even worse, like, not only does it do nothing, it's just, like, kind of makes the game less fun.
Yep.
But, like, doesn't actually make it more difficult to win, really. Damned is,
I don't even know what that
Damned
one
is
does.
fun, but it does nothing.
Yeah, it's the one that gives you the random tarot and a negative.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because you get to draw 2, right, and then pick one.
No, you just
No,
take
you get
one.
You
one
just
for
get
that one,
You just
yeah.
get one.
Yeah, but
random
so
one.
many of them just don't do anything,
That's true.
man.
Yeah, you can get
All
like
of them
minus
don't.
1 foot on Mark Harrigan, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I mean, you get minus 1 punch on Mark Harrigan, and you're like,
yeah, you're like, oh,
Yeah, like,
this will be
that's fine.
tougher, but I'll manage.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I have
I
to
guess
fight
I'll
at
figure
7
it out.
instead of 8.
Yeah.
The devil, again, is either crippling or it does nothing.
What do you mean the tarot weaknesses aren't very good?
Yeah.
Do you know what my least favorite part of
Yeah.
those motherfuckers is? Is that they steal a mulligan from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the Like, because, I mean, like, the asset one does suck more than the skills one on turn 1, right? But, like, them taking one of your precious 4 cards...
Oh, yeah, no, like, 90% of these cards, I don't care what's printed on them. When I draw them, I'm like, I wanted to draw my card during the upkeep. Excuse me.
Yeah. How dare you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These Edge of the Earth ones I actually like because they encourage you to put healing in your deck. And that is part of one of my points is I think that the game would do better by forcing players to generalize their decks as opposed to hyper-specialize.
You just like this one because when Justin hits this, he's all like, "Oh, my arm!
Yeah. I hit my elbow."
Yeah. But I also dislike how they're very much crippling or do nothing.
Yeah.
So, Dendromorphosis, again, is a crippling or does nothing.
Sucks.
Get the card out of here.
What are you talking about? You like hit that and you're like, my magnifying glasses. No,
Yeah.
I can't see anything without my magnifying glasses.
Yeah. Lurker in the Dark's almost good.
I think that the Scarlet
so
Keys
close.
ones are actually pretty good for weaknesses because they're class focused.
Yep.
And it actually, like, generally if you're a rogue, you want money. Generally if you're a seeker, you want cards in hand, right? So they're going to hit more than they miss than other ones.
There's one, like, they're better than a lot of them.
Yeah.
But they're still not great,
Yeah,
in my
they're-
opinion, because they tend to punish, like, a particular
There's a picture of
archetype, deck archetype, as opposed to just, like, punishing a roll.
I think the only exception for that one I think what is this one?
I think this one, Pay Your Due, is pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that
That
Underprepared
one's pretty
is...
harsh, yeah.
I mean, Underprepared, I think, is, like... It's just a little bit too harsh for the people who don't do the skilled stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those things where just like it's I think like but it has like that hard thing to get rid of.
Yeah.
Right? My God, is he dying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Lurker in the Dark is almost... maybe Lurker in the Dark is good, because I guess if you're not playing the investigators that care about fighting, then, like...
You're Kelvin,
Like
and
I
you
said-
get it, and you're like, well...
well, no.
Oh, sorry, no, sorry,
You're
Carson.
like Carolyn or Carson, you're like, it's an
Yeah.
enemy, oh god.
Yeah.
And then the Mystic's just like,
Yeah.
I can't.
I mean, like, these ones, both the Lurker
Like-
in the Dark and the Ectoplasmic Horror have actually slowed us down when we've gotten them more than the other enemies.
That's fair.
Because, like, with you and the Dexter deck with that one, and then your Roland deck, you had the other one, you actually have to, like, work a bit harder for
I
them.
got killed by this guy and he wasn't even in my deck.
So, like, maybe it's, like, kind of more online with where it should be going, right?
I almost like this one. The only reason I don't like it is because they're like, punish you for having empty arcane slots. And I'm like, hey, here's a bunch of cards that want you to not have our stuff in your arcane slots. And it's like,
That's a fun little joke, isn't it? For them
yeah,
to pull?
thanks, guys. That's cool.
I do agree, though, like, with the general statement that its basic weaknesses should be the reason why deck cycling sucks, right? Because when the game started, they were like, haha, if your deck empties, you're going to take 10 damage. It happens so rarely, right?
Yep.
And now Seekers can go, you know?
I mean, not just Seekers, other classes can do that too.
Yeah, Seekers can do it the easiest, though. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It's true. Or no, you tell me
So
what to
I
think.
know I spent a lot of time complaining about Carson Sinclair not being cool or
Yeah.
fun to play. But, like, man, that might be the only investigator I want to play now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Maybe you're scared that he would be too fun to play.
Maybe
On some
that,
deep
yeah,
psychological level.
maybe. Like, the only thing I don't like is that I can't play Contraband on him, and I'm like, it makes sense, but I want to.
I mean, like, I think Carson is... I think he's good, and I think he's fun, and I think, like, he's also didn't do that thing that that you would always say when it came to support characters, that you feel like you have to play him because he's so good. But I think he fills a good spot, and it allows the other players to do worse things, like spend 3 actions to kill a rat as Keimani Jones.
No, that was sick.
Because like you make up so much more actions from the good investigators doing what they do well, you know?
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I think he was a good design, and I think especially there was a lot of people in our Discord who were dooming him really hard, and I think he's actually a
Yeah, I
really
was
good
actually
investigator.
3 of them.
Yeah. Are you all the foods? Are you all 3 foods?
John should talk to himself.
But like, I mean, like, I think Carson was
3
a success.
monitors
I think he's a good character.
Yeah, also, I think he's a good addition to the game too. I know I was definitely like skeptical about him when he first came out, but he is, and I didn't have the best time the first time I played him, but like I think he's a character you need to either enjoy that playstyle for or make your own fun with.
Yes.
But he's definitely like a welcome addition to the roster, especially for Guardians when it's just give us like anything that isn't Punch Man again.
Okay.
This one is his name is Cho Nathaniel.
This is Mark Cho.
He's a different guy.
He's got 5 punch.
Yeah, he can only play blue cards. He does extra damage with
Weapons.
events.
Yeah.
He can only fight with weapons.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Can only take fight actions on weapon assets. He does extra damage with them though.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
I mean,
That's not very good, Rin.
I suppose that's why people
He's like weapons for extra damage.
like why even you have a deck that's revisiting Sister Mary. I've seen it. I see all your decks as you build them.
Oh yeah, sometimes I get neat ideas and I just make the deck and I'm like, I'll just like pawn this off on Justin and Bryn sometime if they're like, I don't know what deck to play. I'm like,
and I mean like, I suppose that's like kind of like a sign for the Guardians is like the fun ones are the fun ones to build around because you can do kind of jankier stuff with them, and that's why. You know,
The fun ones are all Mark Harrigan.
Yeah, like Mark Harrigan is very fun to play, but you don't decide what Mark deck to play. You're like, am I going to kill things with a Cyclopean hammer or with or like a flamethrower, or like a Time Lord brand?
Yeah. All right.
You know?
I think this one's pretty simple, which just is like, is the new release format better or not?
It's better in my opinion for consumers, but it is worse for like the community around the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where this year now I'm kind of like just riding the wave until fall, where I know what to expect. Like last summer I was like, are we ever gonna get anything? But now I'm kind of like, yeah, let's go. It'll eventually come. But I do think that I'm happy with it because I like buying 2 things as opposed to 7 things. That is much nicer.
I think that the Fantasy Flight is like leaning super hard on the community with this, where if people weren't making custom cards and custom campaigns and stuff, the game like very possibly would die.
Yep.
The community just have nothing to do all year.
I am curious to see once they're done the re-releases if anything is going to fill those spots or if it's going to be like a new LCG in those times, right? Because the rumors are that there's one brewing. Yeah.
No, I want more of this one.
There will be more of this one.
Unless you're gonna be like, this is Eldritch or LCG, and I'll be like, yeah.
I do miss like the return to boxes.
Yeah.
Where you get to like the first wave of cards, and you're like, man, this one sucks. Maybe they'll do something cool.
Oh yeah, like when they did like
that's like kind of like nah.
I also miss the boxes.
Yeah. Or like because like there was something like whenever
plus I gotta buy some BCW boxes to store my shit in.
Yeah, no,
That's
like the
the
physical
worst.
boxes. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
They're nice.
Yeah. And I mean, I do miss the aspect of us being like 2 months past, we finally have the next scenario. Like, oh boy, what was it? But I don't miss where we're like, what happened?
It was also fun, like
if I
building
want
decks.
that, I'll play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, exactly. That fills that gap.
It was also fun seeing like the handful of player cards that came out each time, and like
Yes.
I mean, even just having like preview articles and stuff was good enough, man. Like you don't have to like actually put out a pack every couple months. Like just throw us a preview article.
Yeah.
I think it's better for inducting new people in the game. I think it's worse for franchise players.
I don't miss paying shipping $7.
Yes, yeah.
That's fair.
Less shipping is very nice.
That's pretty okay.
So I guess there's aspects of both that I like.
Yeah, I definitely ended up with some extra copies of some Innsmouth conspiracy stuff because I wasn't playing it at the time. That's like I completely my own fault. I didn't bother to check what was in the box.
Yeah.
I was just like, horror in high gear. I've never heard of that. Yeah, I guess I'll take one of those.
And just got 2 of them.
Yeah.
It's a shame you didn't get 2. You should got through the core box. You have extra copies of like the good cards.
Yeah, I know, right? That one I knew I had though.
Yeah,
Because there's a big box on my table.
Yeah, if you remember one of them, it's probably that one.
Yeah. It was like, you gotta sleeve this, and I was like, no.
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to let us know any talking points that you'd want us to visit in a future one of these, you can let us know down in the comments, and I'll make a WordPad file with it, and I will choose them and throw them in future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. A huge thank you to all of our patrons. Where is that slide? There it is. You guys all rock. Have a good one. And as always, GG's.